All right, and here is part 2 of our video series. So be sure to like and subscribe to Giannis's channel here and check out his other videos and links below.
I plot onto these SAS drives externally with these breakout cables, and when I'm done, I just pop them off and move them a few inches and just connect them to my farmer's HBA, actually SAS expander, because then it won't really matter how fast they are.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, I've actually used a SAS 1 HBA just for fun. I've tried out a SAS 1 HBA, just for the destination drives. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And you're really not going to, in your average, this is why, disk shelves that are cheap, I don't think you need high performance in your plot storage. Like high performance in your plot storage, I don't think it's going to get you like what some people might be thinking it's going to get you. Like I see people like asking questions about, do I need SAS 3 for even if you're doing a full rack, you do not need SAS 3. You're fine with just, normal SAS 2 connections, daisy chained, and you got 2 ports. You can connect up to 4 devices on each port. 8 drive bays is typically what you can get. And so you're probably good with one computer running full node for a full 42U rack of storage even.
So I would have to respectfully disagree there.
Now, this is interesting. Tell me why.
I noticed this especially when I was playing around with the SAS 1. It has 2 quad ports, but it can only handle 4 devices.
Which device were you using?
Actually,
No, not SAS 1, SAS 2. You should be using SAS 2,
yeah.
Not SAS 1. You cannot manage a full rack off SAS 1.
So with each generation, you can actually handle more host IDs.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, it does matter, but in a way, it doesn't. Like speed-wise, you're probably going to be fine with SAS 2, especially if it's 16, if you have enough PCIe lanes attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
See, the one that I have, I got a bunch of 16 external ones, SAS 2. And the thing is, they actually cap out, I think, a little bit before 8 drives, which means once you add 16 drives, you're actually technically kind of cutting into the bandwidth of the other ones. It doesn't really matter unless you're doing SSDs. But I mean, that's why you can do all these things with all the expanders and stuff like that. And again, you're not actually reading off of every single hard drive.
Yeah, so
there's the initial filter, 1 in 512 watts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's not like you're reading. Say you have 100 terabytes or a petabyte. You're not actually reading a petabyte.
No,
you're
definitely
not
not.
looking at those.
Yeah.
So I think some people have definitely overestimated how much bandwidth they need.
Well, you can definitely. So I know this for a fact. So SAS 2, Gen 2, it was not huge bandwidth that they had available. I believe it's aggregate 4 or something like that you're going to peak out in your SAS 2 realm, gigabits per second. But they were able to, in their JBODs, store massive amounts of data because they never accessed it in a RAID fashion or anything like that. So there was no performance impact. That's very similar to how Unraid operates in the mode that I've got it right here, which if you do not run a parity on it, you can just create your share, have it do the fill up, and literally as fast as you can throw plots at it, it's going to spit them out to different disks. So, I mean, you can write a ton of data to a 24 bay even. Now, I would say if you're plotting to it actively, that wouldn't be good. But for when you move to your farming efficiency operation, SAS 2 should definitely get you there for even a full rack. Because the read profile on a 24 bay is somewhere around 25, peak 60 megabits per second. So that's farming. That's nothing. You can daisy chain those suckers. Now, if you've got a bunch more drives in them, though, I don't know. Because a lot of people are looking at these 48 bay drives. There, you're doubling your count of drives. I know theoretically an H810, 9205, they can handle 1024 devices. So that should scale, you think? No?
Yeah, maybe sure. I mean,
definitely not in SAS 1 though. Definitely not in SAS 1.
yeah, the SAS one was just horrible. I mean, I actually tried even like rating stuff, and it's like, yeah, I could rate 4 devices and couldn't see the other 4. I'm like, I love trying stuff that's cheap, that used to be awesome a decade ago, decade and a half ago, whatever.
Your H310s a decade ago, literally, your H310 was not awesome, but the underlying LSI technology between LSI 2008 was actually pretty awesome. That generational jump that happened at that period of time, like literally, like you're saying, 10 years ago, for compute, for everything, was like a doubling. It was amazing what happened back then. And I hope we see that again soon, but it's been a pretty stagnant period of growth for a lot of bandwidth intensive operations and even compute intensive operations out there.
Yeah, another thing about, PCIe 2, as you mentioned, SAS 2, like my HDDs, they're PCIe 2.0. I can run those SAS 2 SSDs on PCIe 2, and yeah, I'm going to lose a little bit of performance probably, possibly actually, because of basically the total bandwidth. I'm going to need to check this, but I think that there might be a little bit lost if you have 8 drives that actually utilize the whole amount. I think that it might be a little bit less than what the card can handle.
Definitely, I've seen that. The difference between 8 and 16, actually, I see a negative performance impact in RAID 0 on an H710 that's flashed to like a 9205. I'll see like actually a little bit increase in the drive latency, which is definitely not a performance indicator that you want to have growing. So I've noticed that for sure. And so, yeah, right around 8 drives. And I mean, that aggregate bandwidth is right around 4 gigabytes per second. You do a really good job on your channel of showcasing the hardware that you're working with, because I don't know what it is, but it's like, I feel like I'm playing with your hardware, like through YouTube or something. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great Threadripper.
I was actually thinking, how can I make it, sexier? Because to me, it's like, I love this hardware. I really love it. Like, what's the percentage of computers that actually have a Gen 4 NVMe socket?
It's not many, man. It's not many.
Why aren't all these awesome results like, yeah, with this, $500 or $400 thing that you can't even put into like 99% of the computers in the world? Why? So looking at the SAS 3, PCIe 3, how many computers don't have 8 lanes of PCIe 3?
Like everybody's got.
There's so many of them. And I'm actually getting results without a RAM disk that's, close to what an NVMe can. Actually, with the RAM disk, it was slightly better. And spoiler alert, I've actually figured out how there's actually a performance mode on these. And I figured out how to unlock it. It's just now lost communication because of that.
So is it like a turbo write, like a P0 or something? Or is it a different power state?
It's actually, you have to tell it to use 11 watts instead of 9 watts.
Are you overclocking your HBA? That's almost what it sounds like.
It's the actual SSD.
You're overclocking your SSDs. I did not know that was possible. This is definitely a video you have to make. I'm very excited about this. This is incredibly exciting.
It's funny because, I was so happy when I found this manual. And, I guess most people, when they find a manual that's 400 pages, are going to be like, screw that, I'm not going to read that. To me, it's like, I'm used to manuals.
I don't think so. I think people that are interested in Chia are totally into this. Like, honestly, there's the money side of it. And like, yeah, you can make money with Chia. And, I am of the hold it for a long time kind of perspective myself. That's just me. That's me. But like, I really think most people, a lot of people, are in this for the performance and the benchmarking and the tweaking, just like you're doing, just like I'm doing. Like, I'm like, man, I can get 5% more. I know I can get 5% more. I don't know how, but I know I can.
So it's actually built into this type of SSD, and I had no idea that this even existed until, I found this manual. And, like I said, it was only 400 pages. To me, it's like, I read manuals all the time. I write manuals. And it's just, it's kind of boring if you do 5,000 pages, but 400 pages, yeah, it was, it was after hours. I just read it, and it was actually interesting. I didn't understand all of it. Obviously the first time you read through it, it's like you kind of skim through it a little bit, but I basically saved the pages where it's like, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting, and I actually found out that the data sheet actually only shows the best results, basically with the best settings. And I actually found all these different settings in like for single 6 gig, for dual 6 gig, for single 12 gig, for dual 12 gig, and running at 9 watts and running at 11 watts. They have all that information in that manual. I have not found the manual for the SAS2. I don't think, I actually double checked the data sheet, and it does say in the data sheet 9 or 11 on the SAS3.
Mm-hmm.
And on the SAS2, it didn't say anything like that, so I don't think that one has a performance mode like that. I don't want to spoil anything, but I do have another SSD that I'm going to test after I'm done with these things. I just need to figure out how to get this one to perform at its maximum or close to its maximum before I even start with that one. Partially because if these catch on fire, I won't cry as much as if the next ones will, because I actually did pay a little bit more, more than twice as much.
So how much were these SAS3 SSDs that you're talking about, the first ones that you're testing on here, the 11 watters?
I think it was something like $35 per.
That's not bad.
It's twice of what the SAS2 was, but the thing is, performance-wise, I did not see a gigantic difference between them. Yet. Yeah, I figured out what was wrong with the SAS2 results. It was something stupid. Basically, I reset the BIOS, and that reset the speed of the PCIe port that I was using. Instead of 8, so it was running at half speed. So it wasn't the HBA's fault. That was totally me.
So I have a theory. Let me postulate my theory to you, because you're going to test this theory. And I've seen, I think, in the spreadsheet the storage jam has out there on performance results, I think I've seen this validated. Did you see the StagMax script that I wrote that was basically modified off of one of Storage JM's original scripts for using MadMax for plotting in parallel on different devices?
No, actually I didn't.
Have you checked my GitHub, by the way? No, I don't expect people to check my GitHub. That's a weird one. People usually are like, what is GitHub?
I love that because I don't have to write that. Thank you.
Credit due. This was a modification of a modification of Storage JM's original MadMax staggering script, but it does a pretty good job. Here's my postulation though. So I believe in the generation of hardware that I use. Really, what I'm dealing with is Xenon E5 V2 processors for all of my plotting, and I've ran into a phenomenon. I cannot get past the CPU as the bottleneck. So it almost doesn't make sense. I've not been able to produce a configuration where parallel plotting produces me net more plots than plotting serial.
So is your CPU actually at 100?
All the time.
Yeah, I can't, like I said, I'm doing serial. Best I've done is like high 70s.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's an effect of you're working on later generation hardware. You've got more CPU compute. Yeah, that compute right there is a huge difference between where I'm at with even two 2667 V2s. That's still nowhere near where a single Threadripper is able to go.
Right. So, one of the things I want to do is I want to actually, like I said, I don't want the storage, I don't want the CPU to be the bottleneck. I want the storage to be the bottleneck. So basically that way I can actually test which storage is actually good. And data sheets don't really matter. There are drives that, there are some NVMEs that claim a bunch of stuff, and then you look at the, benchmarks, and they're just crap. So you can't just trust the data sheets. However, I found, I don't want to say anything great and amazing about, this or that company, but, I've noticed with these drives, spoiler alert, the third one is actually the same company as well. It's basically the last one that's reasonably cheap. I had to order them from Australia. So they just got here and I haven't tried them yet, but I really like them. Like when it comes to what they say that they're capable of, that's why I was so surprised with the results in the SAS 3. It's like, this can't be, I'm missing something. Yeah, I missed a huge thing. Yeah, my computer crashed and I reset the BIOS and redid the OC, and that must have, redone the PCIe port to where it was 4 lanes instead of 8 lanes. Oops. That's a huge oopsie. That cut my bandwidth in half. Mm-hmm. And I didn't swap the cards. I had them in 2 different slots. So I didn't notice, I just thought, wow, my SAS 2 card really sucks on these drives. I've tested it now. They're actually really, really good with the SAS 2 HBA. I haven't compared if there are actual differences. I believe there are. I know that with the SAS 3s, there definitely are going to be once I get 12 to work. See, the problem is, as much as I love this drive, this HBA, the H240, it's using 8087 connector.
It's weird, right?
It's having such a huge issue finding, I believe it's actually the cables.
So quantify for me, what is the price range for the HP 240? You said it was a good deal. What kind of a good deal are we talking about?
So the first one I got for $22.
Wow, that is cheap. That's really cheap. That's
I just bought one for 38.
That's wild. That's cheaper than an 8. That's like an H310 or an H710. That's really cheap.
And I was mad because they got a good price. But the thing is, they're actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. It's just.
Yeah. So I read a couple of the home threads on the HP 240, and it seems like people give up eventually on getting the everything out of it. I haven't seen anybody report that they've gotten what you're going for here. So you've got to solve this. I have faith in you to solve this, by the way. And I'm going to buy my card now because you're going to create an ultimate, an insane amount of demand for these SAS 3 HBAs, by the way. So I'm buying mine now. And I got tons of 8087 cables laying around. I thought it was weird when I heard 8087 also, because I was like, don't those use the big fat squarey kind of thing? I don't have anything that's SAS 3, so I don't even know what that cable connector is. I'm sure that there's yet another great cable numbering system that they've got for it. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the one where you have 2 things on top of each other.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a square instead of a,
Yeah, it seems real dense, it's like a compact, big old square. Yeah.
So that's basically what's usually on a SAS.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I'm surprised.
What is the difference to I've not even researched SAS 3s. What is the difference in price to another SAS 3 card that is standard or whatever? Do you know what that price is? Have you done research on that?
There's a reason why I bought a second one of these. It's like $100 plus.
Okay.
If you want LSI, it's going to be slightly more expensive.
LSI, I do gotta love that company, but there's got to be something we can flash to get that LSI. You know what I mean?
So if you want a 16-port one, you're looking at $400 or $500. It's
no,
I'm good. I'm good.
Folks, we were recording for so long. We talked for 4.5 hours. Editing this has been a big project, actually. And at the end, we did not wrap things up. So I just wanted to wrap things up by saying, Thanks so much for having a good chat with me, Giannis. That is some interesting hardware that he's got. He's got kind of a redo going on right now on his studio. And also he's got a lot more like hardware integration that's coming up as a result of some of these changes. He's working on a lot of really cool stuff. I'm really excited about the SAS3. I actually did already order my HBA, so I'm ahead of the curve on that one. And you should check out his YouTube channel. Links below for his YouTube channel. Everybody, have a great rest of your day. And thanks for all the support, and thanks for getting us to 1,500.